Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rundown. Today is January 18th, 2021. I'm Chris Dixon, and this is InfoWeather Catholic Media. Let's get into this week and today: weather, sports, COVID-19, politics, and news. First off, this week's liturgy, nothing too crazy. Optional memorials of St. Fabian and St. Sebastian on Wednesday, the memorial of St. Agnes on Thursday, the day of prayer for the legal protection of unborn children on Friday the 22nd, where you can wear either violet or white. A few optional memorials on Saturday: St. Vincent, St. Mary and Cope, or the Blessed Virgin Mary, before we get to the third Sunday in Ordinary Time next Sunday, in the Feast of the Conversion of St. Paul. Today is also Martin Luther King Jr. Day. There's a quote from him: "Evil may so shape events that Caesar will occupy a palace and Christ a cross, but one day that same Christ will rise up and split history into AD and BC, so that even the life of Caesar must be dated by his name." This is definitely something applicable to our times. I think many of his quotes are very applicable to our times today. Let's get into the weather. We got lots to talk about. Winter, severe, tropical, here in Columbus and here in Norman, both having some potentially interesting events the next several days. First, winter weather. Really nothing too crazy most of the week. Certainly wintry weather in spots because it is that time of the year. But a bigger snowstorm is expected to occur into next weekend. We're looking at Saturday in the northern plains and again Sunday and Monday into the Midwest and Northeast. And we'll talk about the impacts to the Columbus area with that snowstorm part. Now, south of that, there is a potential for severe weather, particularly Texas, Oklahoma. There's a chance of severe weather far to the south of where that green outlined area for a higher risk of snow was. Again, that'll be Friday through Sunday, potentially even into Monday as well on the East Coast. We'll see exactly what happens with that. As of now, no official probabilities that are too crazy for severe weather either. Let's get into tropical weather. We have three current storms. One's Tropical Storm Joshua, which is located south of Indonesia in the southern Indian Ocean. That's going to dissipate out. That's probably on the far eastern region of where that red oblong shape is on that week one climate prediction center forecast. We have Tropical Storm Kimi located just east of Queensland. It's going to make landfall on central Queensland tomorrow, nearing Category 1 equivalent strength. And there's also a tropical storm located to the northeast of Madagascar. It's going to make landfall on Madagascar, also nearly a Category 1 equivalent storm on Tuesday. So definitely interesting times south of the equator for tropical weather at the moment. But let's get into our local weather. We're looking at clouds and cold for most of the week here in Columbus with over 40 degrees by Thursday, but it's going to dip back down for the rest of the week. We're back into the 20s for the weekend. We might not even break 30 on Saturday. A significant snowstorm is possible Monday, but of course that can turn into rain, especially with the line being right where we're at here in central Ohio. So where exactly that line sets up is going to determine rain or snow. If it is mostly snow, we could be seeing something in multiple inches and something that would definitely impact schools, even if they're somewhat online. That's how big of a scale event. Think Christmas is kind of what we're, the Christmas snowstorm is what this is shaping up to sort of be like if we have cool enough temperatures, which it can go either way at this point. Stay tuned for a snow day alert, which I'll probably issue late this week or sometime next weekend if it does appear that a snow day will be possible. In Norman, we're looking at mid-50s and cloudy for most of the week. Tuesday's going to be a bit cooler, but still above 50 for the high. We're going to be nearly 60 by Thursday, and then that rainstorm weather hits for the weekend. nearing 60 again on Sunday. It's going to be spotty, severe weather and rain, and it may not even be severe. So stay tuned for issuances and updates on the severe weather for Norman. Let's get into sports. We only have one thing because the Buckeyes lost to Alabama in the college football playoff. We have the NFL playoffs. We saw, unfortunately, the Browns losing to the Chiefs. Unfortunately, Mahomes got out. But once he did, the Browns actually had a chance. If it weren't for that one touchdown or the lack thereof, the Browns would have won and moved on to play the Bills. Chiefs are expected to beat the Bills by a field goal. And we also have Packers-Bucks on the NFC side of things. The Buccaneers-Saints game, also quite the football game. Breeze throwing 3 interceptions. That is definitely not ideal for what may have been his last last professional football game. Let's get right into coronavirus video update 2020-3. All plots, of course, from Tomer Berg and this Oklahoma School Meteorology. Everybody going down in daily new cases except for like Massachusetts, I believe, was the only state that I looked at. Like all the states, I couldn't believe that all of them were going down. So all the states generally heading downward now in terms of new cases, which is very, very good. Note that it's still the Trump administration, so if Biden tries to claim something or one of his officials tries to claim something, just know it's already heading down. I mean, it really has a minimal thing to do with politics, at least the federal level. Certainly on the local and state level, it has a lot to do with politics, as we know from Florida. But alas, total cases per capita shown here. Let's get into daily new deaths per 100,000. That's right now we have a daily new deaths per capita instead of the total deaths, which really wasn't a helpful trend line chart for us. We're looking at Alabama and Arizona as the worst daily new death states, and many of the states doing fine. Ohio, not that bad, middle of the pack. Same with Oklahoma, middle of the pack. Of course, some of the states here and there, just look at your state and see how you're doing compared to the rest of the nation. Total deaths per capita also on the map right there. Seems to match up sort of with the total cases per capita, which again makes sense. I'd be interested to see if there's a percentage graph. I know that Tomer doesn't make a percentage graph, but if he did, that would be very cool. Current hospitalizations for 100,000 also down in every single state as far as I am concerned. It looks like New York's still on the upswing, but most of the other states are heading down, which is good. Even Arizona, which had been much higher previously. So that is also very, very good. Let's get into last week's infection graph. We see potentially peaking over 1 million infections if the things did not pan out the way we wanted them to. The good news is we've revised the people who make this have revised the projections downwards to only peaking at 700,000, which is about where we're at right now. This is the worst of it. So as it stands right now, this is the worst. It's not going to get any worse than this, and it's going to be smooth sailing for the most part from here on out. Again, get the vaccine when it's your turn. Wear your mask still, even if you get the vaccine. Just hold on to your horses. It'll come to an end, but don't wish it away too quickly, because then you'll have to deal with it for a longer period of time. And that's that. University of Oklahoma has some new fancy graphics, so I don't have to make my own. So we're back talking about Oklahoma. We do see that this is a general trend graph. We see, of course, a sharp drop off after like school gets out or like began out. So it's really not helpful in that sense. It'll definitely be an interesting thing to look at in the coming weeks as we take a look at what it does when people return to campus. You see in isolation and quarantine more staff than students for the first time on record, even by percentage. The faculty about where they're normally at, but the students very low compared to everything else. You see only 1,100 positive cases for the university since the beginning of them tracking it, which really isn't that bad considering things. The reason that I say that is that there's just over 30,000 people, and 1 out of 30 really isn't horrible, especially given 20,000 of those have gotten tests. Again, 5% of those being positive. 347 people received the vaccine as of the 15th from the university alone. So other people may have not gotten it through the university. The university will be giving the vaccine out once it's your turn. Again, currently it's just healthcare workers, people over the age of 65, frontline people that are more important and more at risk due to the coronavirus at this time. U.S. deaths over 400,000, total cases nearing 25 million, and current cases also nearing 10 million. California still leading the way, followed by Florida, New York, Arizona, and Georgia. I believe Texas and Virginia flipped or something to that extent. I forget exactly what the flip was, but there was some flip in the lower half. But the top 10 states are still the top 10 states. That has not changed. We're currently at 40% of the 31 million vaccines actually given out. Less than 40% of the 31 million vaccines actually given out. That 31 million is 9.4% of the population for comparison to the U.S. population. In terms of the faster spreading strain of the virus, California still leads the way. Florida stays at 22, and some of the other states there as well. Nothing too crazy at this point in time. So much for being fast spreading. I think it's really because we're not detecting it. 95.5 million worldwide cases, over 2 million deaths worldwide, over 25 million current cases worldwide, which is actually higher than the United States overall case count. India also over 10 billion, and several other countries follow in. Also the same top 10, several countries that it's been for the past forever. So, it is what it is. Nothing too crazy here. Let's get into politics. The inauguration of Biden-Harris and Biden's $1.9 trillion relief package. First off, the inauguration will occur Wednesday at noon, or at least it's supposed to, and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris is expected to resign her Senate seat today because she's currently a senator, and you can't hold both the Senate seat and be vice president at the same time. So she's going to resign that seat today and be replaced by her state's governor of choice. His own choice, I believe, is the way that it works. So that will be interesting, a new era in American politics, as it is every time we get a new president. We'll see exactly what happens. With that, of course, my hopes are high, as are probably the majority of the country at this point. Biden's $1.9 trillion relief package issues $465 billion for stimulus. That's $1,400 per person. Finishes out the $2,000 per person because Trump and the Congress associated with that gave out $600 per person. Trump wanted $2,000. Some people wanted $2,000, but it didn't get through. So alas, Biden will finish that out. The dependents over the age of 17 will count, as well as undocumented people in the country. We'll also up the unemployment to $400 per week. It was $300 per week through the end of September. Rental assistance also going through the end of September. Increased funds to help the hungry, including increase to food stamps, and $3 billion to the WIC program. We're also looking at child care help, payment protection program help, small business help, frontline worker help, help for education, schools and colleges, and help for the logistics of giving the vaccine out, which, as we know, has been quite the problem over the past, since we got the vaccine. It really hasn't been distributed as quickly as everybody has hoped. Let's get into the news. We're looking at the lottery row 49 years later, our bishops and other Catholic leaders. First up, the lottery, the Powerball will be drawn on Wednesday, which is $546 million cash if you win. Odds of winning are like 300 million to 1. So, or 1 to whatever. You get the point. Mega Millions, similar odds, actually slightly harder odds, but a higher cash prize currently at $628 million. That would not suck. That drawing is going to be Tuesday. The 48th annual March for Life will take place Friday, January 29th, instead of January 22nd this year due to the inauguration and other concerns. I mean, it was already planned for the 29th because they knew it was inauguration year. Roe was decided on January 22nd. That is this Friday, 49 years ago this Friday. The National Mall is actually closed through January 24th. Due to security concerns. It's going virtual this year instead of in person due to COVID-19 and civil unrest and all those things, of course, out of the protection for human life, which makes sense. They are not holding the March for Life, but a few people will be invited from across the country to march up to the Supreme Court and lay roses to very clearly present the pro-life position to the court because, as we know, it is important. Our bishops across the world, 9 COVID-19 bishop deaths since the 8th of the year. Or, it's really across the world. We have Zambia, Romania, Venezuela, Scotland, Colombia, Italy, Brazil, Poland, and Italy again. That last bishop was actually really the Pope's right-hand man, kind of, sort of. So not quite his right-hand man, but one of the higher up bishops in Rome, not during the Francis pontificate, but in the Benedict pontificate and earlier. As you see, he's 91, but the youngest being 53, dying from COVID as a bishop. Very not ideal, certainly. And of course, we pray for their souls and the repose of them. The Personal Ordinariate of Our Lady of Walsingham was established in 2011, 10 years ago last Friday. What is a Personal Ordinariate? Because nobody really knows unless you're Anglican. So it's Anglican people that wanted to return to the Catholic Church but retain their Anglican traditions. Now, some of the high Anglican churches are, in my opinion, more traditional and reverent than Catholic, certain Catholic churches. So they have a very reverent worship style. So the Pope in 2011 said, you know what, we can just adjust some things and then call it Catholic if they want to join. And so it's kind of like the Byzantine Rite. It's particular to those who are around Byzantium or any of the other rites. It's particular to their geographic area. Similarly, this is particular to former Anglicans because it has the familiarity of Anglicanism while also having the truth and fullness of the Catholic faith for the first time since the Anglican split. Anglican clergy can also get ordained to the Catholic Church, and that's exactly what happened 10 years ago last Friday. 3 former Anglican bishops were ordained to be Catholic priests. They were, of course, married because you're allowed to do that in the Anglican Church. And even in the Eastern Catholic churches, you can't be a bishop and be married. So they became married priests in the Catholic Church, and the Pope chose one of them to become the ordinary of the ordinariate, which is like a bishop in all things. He has his mitre, he has his crozier, he is part of the Episcopal Conference. He's everything that a bishop is, except for he can't ordain people and can't consecrate the oils at the Chrism Mass. But other than that, he's mostly everything a bishop is. And there's 2 more ordinariates. One of them is here in the United States. It's the Personal Ordinariate of the Chair of St. Peter in 2012, and Our Lady of the Southern Cross Ordinariate in Australia and Asia, also established in 2012. The former bishop got surprised on his ordination that the cardinal appointed him the ordinary. The cardinal through the pope through the cardinal appointed him the ordinary, like a bishop would be. Again, he didn't know before his ordination he was going to be the ordinary, so that is definitely kind of cool. Of course, he was used to being an ordinary because he was an Anglican bishop. In other Catholic news, we have a January 12th Supreme Court decision. This is big. 6-3 in favor of an FDA rule making the abortion pill only accessible through an in-person clinic despite COVID. So certain people feel the need to get an abortion pill without going to an in-person clinic. The FDA says, no, you can't do that. We aren't giving a chemical abortion pill to just anybody who feels like they need it. You actually have to go see somebody and verify that you need a chemical abortion, because, that's not necessarily the easiest thing for your body to take, let alone the body inside of you to take. So, alas, that was the decision there. A big win for, the pro-life community. The Diocese of Lansing, Michigan, this is also big for the Catholic faith in general. The Diocese of Lansing determined that biological sex and gender are the same thing. That's not breaking news in the Catholic Church, but, it's breaking news in other parts of the world. All persons in their schools, parishes, and charities are to be recognized with their biological sex and the pronouns associated with their original biological sex. So it's he, him, his, and she, her, hers. That's it. No other pronouns, because there's no other genders, because there's two genders. Anyways, they also note the importance of pastoring to the needs of gender dysphoria, which is something that I think has been lost in all of this. So it's very good that they mentioned that. They actually released a whole document. I encourage you to look it up and read it to understand where they're coming from. And it comes from a place of love, I guarantee it. So definitely take into account. They also refuse to administer hormonal treatments to their students, which I think makes pretty darn good sense. You don't want to be giving a child hormonal treatments. That's not only contrary to the faith, but as they mention here, it damages them in a psychological, emotional, and spiritual way. And that also Catholic theology are at odds. All four of those things: theology, psychology, emotions, and spiritual. All of those things are against each other. So that's what we got right there. On that note, I know it's a heavy one. That's going to be the rundown. Didn't change the date at the top of the screen, but I don't care because we're at the end here. I've been Chris Dixon. Stay safe, stay healthy, and don't forget to wear your mask. InfoWeather, Catholic Media.